interest rates have risen to 1% and set to double in the next 12 months, it is going to destroy the housing market. Is that really going to happen, and what impact is it going to have on us as property investors? So the BOE, Bank of England, have just had their 4th meeting since December and have come out and unanimously sort of agreed on 1% interest rates. That is a 0.25% increase, the highest since 2009. And it all sounds very dramatic when you go a 33% increase from 0.75 to 1%. But really, it's kind of a rise from fuck all to fuck all. And how does it actually impact us on a daily basis? Well, it is quite important to understand. Now, there's 9 people that vote on the committee, and there were 6 people that voted as a yes to go into that 1%. And the other 3 people didn't say no, they said they think it should be higher. Why on earth would they suggest that? Well, it all has to do with inflation and the economic growth of the country. Bit of an economics lesson here. When the country is in a state of disrepair, what happens is the country will typically issue something called bonds. And that is basically debt, saying, hey, do you want to buy some of these bonds, giving the country a load of fabricated money? What they will then do is go, hey, we've got loads of money to help you out. So think B bills and C bills. At the same time, what they'll do is reduce interest rates to the lowest that you'll ever see, which was 0.1% in the last couple of years. And what that does is encourages loads of spending. We've got more buying power. This is absolutely crazy. Hey, on top of it, let's do a bit of quantitative easing, dish out more money. And what this does is it drives spending habits at every level, from us as a consumer and them as a government, into infrastructure, etc. The problem is if this happens too quickly, what happens is you have a dramatic increase in inflation, which is why you may have seen some things going 7 point something percent. You've got the Russia situation going on, your bills at home going up 52% in April. What? 52%? Seriously, absolutely crazy. We now have a target, and we have done for a long time, target inflation of 2%. Inflation, just so you know, is the devaluation of money. It means that a pound today, let's say it's 5% inflation, a pound today, a year from now, is the same pound is really only worth 95 pence in today's money. So it devalues that pound. So what's happened is, because of this huge amount of spending, inflation has skyrocketed. It's at about 7% plus right now. They are expecting it to go as high as 8.7 to 10% at its peak before it starts decreasing. So how do they get that down? Well, they need to stop people spending. And how do you stop people spending and the government from spending? Increase interest rates. Now, it's not as aggressive of going from 0.1 to 10% overnight, nor does it need to be anywhere near inflation, but these small increases make people hurt just enough so that they start focusing more on their bills, the quality of life drops for a while, and then inflation drops down to that ideal 2%, but realistic 3 to 4%, and that's probably going to take a couple of years. So hopefully that makes sense, but it all ties together, and it's kind of a juggling act that we go through government, as a country, and individuals all the time. So what's going to happen in the future, and more importantly, how can you prepare for it? So what's very likely, let's just think of the consensus here. They have 9 people voting, and they always go on majority vote. It never has to be everyone votes on the same thing. 6 people voted for it to increase to 1%. The remaining 3 voted for it to go higher than 1%, right? And they're meeting up in June again in order to reevaluate this. So we might even see another increase. But the fact that nobody voted to keep it the same or decrease it is usually a good indication. So are interest rates going to rise? Almost definitely yes. Now, I also think that's very obvious. Like, we've been paying nothing. Like, absolutely nothing on our interest. It's ridiculous, right? So, and it's also not that high. 0.75 to 1% is not that dramatic. It does impact us, but really not that much. What do I think it's going to go to? I personally think it will be around 1.5% by the end of 2022. I think it will peak out at around May to June next year at about 2%. And then I think inflation will then start coming down over the next year or two. I think we're going to have over 5% inflation for the next 2 years. And then I think it will come down to about 3% after that and then stabilize at about 2.4, 2.5. So obviously they are predictions. We will see if that comes true. But what can you do to prepare yourself for this? Well, it really depends on where you think interest rates are going to go. I think I'm going to take the risk on maybe another month or two on getting some 2-year fixed on them, but pretty much everything I'm going on is I'm going to pay a little bit more extra for 5-year fixes. The reason for that is there's a little bit of a balance. When I say fixes, I mean have fixed rate mortgages. What this means is it protects me against any increases in interest rates. I think within that time frame, we would have been hit with the inflation and stabilized, and it's protected me for the long term. Now that is a personal choice because more than likely it will cost me more for a 5-year fix, but it protects me and gives me that security blanket because high interest rates just are not that big of a deal overall if you're prepared. The only thing that throws us off as investors is when something happens that you didn't expect. But you can expect this. They are still at all-time lows. It really does only have one way to go, and we need to take advantage of that. Again, why do they want this to happen? Believe it or not, it's actually good for us long term. I know it can feel really hard, you know, when I've been talking to my team and things like that, saying that the quality of living is going to drop for the next couple of years, but it is to prepare us for the next surge of growth. And there's a lot of economics around this, which I won't deep dive into right now, but I promise you it is good for the long term. But for now, what it's going to do is it will encourage a reduction in spending all around as a country, and it will increase savings, which will bring down that inflation into a manageable realm, which will be that 2 to 3%. It is an entire country. It is going to take a couple of years, of course, but it really is in our benefit. So just to wrap up, yes, there are some economists that think it will go as high as 3% by 2023. I'd always look at my numbers, and when I'm purchasing, I always base it on a 5% contingency. Like, let's say worst case scenario, it goes to 5%. How do I feel about that? How am I impacted? Is it stress tested, and does it survive that economic hit? Because I'm not really bothered if it reduces my income a little bit. Can I survive through that? And the answer is always yes, if you do it in the right way. But hey, that's just my opinion on it. I actually think it's a good thing overall as a country, even if it is a short-term pain for a long-term gain. And I also have my predictions at 1.5-ish by the end of this year, going up to around 2% next year, and then slowly reducing back down to about that 1.25, 1.5 mark. But this is about you. Let me know what you thought of this video in the comments, and let me know any opinion that you have on it. I'd love to have a bit of back and forth. If you did get value, if you could just take a second to like the video, it does help tremendously to help people know that it's a good video and they should watch it too. And if you're new to property investing and you want to learn more, make sure to hit the subscribe and the notification bell, and I'll see you in the next video.